Hey everyone, I'm back. Um, Today's video is going to be about the shame of being mentally ill. So the shame that I feel, or the shame in general. Yes. Little disclaimer, Henry is sitting on my lap currently, so I might have to move him at some point. He might leave, he might start doing something silly, and I have to defend myself talking about this now that I've started talking. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go. Anyways, I'm gonna go a little back to what I did for work the past like 2 years, well, a year and a half, I guess. I was a 911 dispatcher for the city I live in, and so I'm gonna make some references back to that and to my past, I guess. I've always been kind of the person that you would go to if you had, something going on. I remember in high school being the person that like you would talk to if you had an issue at like 2 a.m. You would text me and I would somehow always be awake, and um, I remember being the support person, right? But at that point I was already, struggling with whatever was going on in my head at the time. And honestly, it's difficult to be the person people call on during like bad moments of their life, but also being in a terrible spot yourself. Because you can't really, well, at first, I was embarrassed to admit that I myself was struggling with something. I always saw myself as like this stoic and invulnerable person that, yes, I was struggling, but I could deal with it. And I could figure it out. I was just in high school back then, and I didn't know as much as I know now about my situation. So that's where like it started, me being kind of like the person people call on. And then I started my job, and I was literally trained to stay calm and be strong and have answers for people in literally their worst moments. And the thing that was the most difficult is not just that I was struggling myself, but that I could see myself in some of my colors. I won't go into too much detail about some of my calls, because I'm not sure exactly what I can and cannot say just yet. But you're basically kind of like everyone in emergency services, I guess. You're kind of like the ultimate I'm fine person, right? You're like the epitome of everything's okay, and you deal with people during their crises, whatever. And even though I truly wasn't, just when I was working there, it's there's a lot of like progress into removing the stigma around mental health at work, and I feel like we're doing that in society too, but work was also trying to, because we've seen a lot of people struggle in our job, officers, ourselves, paramedics, firefighters. And the first thing that I think shame presents itself in is not wanting to tell anyone, like not wanting to share or overshare, or feel like you may be a burden by telling people your problems or just putting words on it and speaking up a little bit. I think the second thing, well, the second way it presents itself is like feeling weak for struggling. Maybe that's just, I don't know if this is a global thing, but I felt weak for a long time for struggling. Because it's not physical pain, right? Where you can have a high pain tolerance or not, and you can just tough it out, but it's in your head, so it's kind of like a toothache. I don't know if you guys understand that reference, but toothaches are you can't make that pain go away ever, and it's the most annoying pain. And always comparing yourself to others who have it worse, right? Like, you see many people during calls that have most likely worse conditions than you have, but at the end of the day, you're still struggling, And I with all of that also comes the aspect of like masking for others, performing and pretending that you're okay in front of others, going the extra mile to show everyone you're okay, or like just pasting that smile again, even though it's not, this is not smiling time, I think in a way, like the culture of strength, of like stoicism in emergency services is like, we're starting to talk about it, as I mentioned before, but it's not, well, it's not spoken enough about just yet, about the true like horrors people see or hear or smell. And hearing people in trouble a lot of the time definitely does not contribute positively to your mental health, right? It makes it a little bit harder to deal with it. And I guess there's also like this, like, I think there's different kinds of shame, right? There's like the social shame where it's people just don't understand what it's like to have this mental illness, I guess. It's just like, think positive, or my thing is, I was really scared of being seen as unstable or unreliable, right? I've always gone in my life the extra mile to help people out, or try to, or just extend a helping hand, right? But I'm scared that when people find out that I am not doing fine, that they're not gonna think I'm reliable anymore, which has happened now. Someone has said that they don't feel like they can rely on me as much as they used to be able to. And honestly, that hurt a lot. Yeah, sorry. Being seen as unreliable for me is just kind of difficult. And there's also like the internal shame of doing it, like feeling broken, or like needing medication,
feeling like a burden to the people you love, which is definitely very difficult to beat, I think. Like, not feeling like you're always a burden, right? And understanding at some point that these people care about you and they can try to help, even though it's hard to know how they can help. Like, people ask often, like, how can I help you, or how can we help to make you feel better? I don't know. I'm not sure what you can do. I appreciate it. I appreciate you for asking, but I have no idea. I'll be honest, I think I've started accepting it a little bit more, in terms of, I understand that I'm sick and that I don't have like 100% control over it. And, you know, yes, I have my fair share to do, and I have I have to put in the effort to, you know, help myself, right? Like, healthy habits and stuff that could help me feel better. But it's not my fault that the chemistry in my brain is all messed up. And, you know, I'm not entirely useless, right? My brain still works. I can, you know, I'm still smart. I'm still able to carry grocery bags. I'm not useless, you know. I think I still have a lot of work to do to accept this feeling, but, well, I'll be honest, I think the YouTube channel is helping a little bit, because it's like I'm hearing my own thoughts, and sometimes I rewatch the videos to see how I felt at a certain time, see if my point of view has changed, or, you know, I'll just say the YouTube channel has helped myself a decent amount. I don't know why I didn't start doing this earlier, because, I mean, out of all the things that haven't helped or have helped, there's not a lot that have helped, like, consistently, but this has. So, you know, I'm just glad I'm still doing it. And, I mean, you know, I see a lot of quotes, or, like, I read a little bit about how it is, right? And I'm gonna be a little corny right now. Like, you're not your mental illness. You are a person that's struggling with it, but you are someone else. Like, you're still the whimsical, funny, loving, passionate person that you are, with or without your mental illness. And the bravest thing that you can do isn't pretending to be okay, or like showing to everyone that you're like, you know, just pretending. It's admitting that there's something wrong and still going on and fighting and trying to make the best of the situation, even though it's very difficult to to do that. I think I'll actually share a call if that's okay with you guys. I'm gonna try not to go into too many details. But I had a young caller, I'd say about 19, and I was 21, so we were quite close of age. And he was definitely going through a hard time, and I was too. But everything he was saying kind of, you know, mirrored how I was feeling, or how things may have happened in my life. And even though we were at, you know, I was on the other end of the call of the phone, right? We were bonding on, well, you know, I guess I did my job well that time. But we were bonding. I was trying to keep him on, but you know, after that call, it was really difficult to not see how I was very similar to one of the callers, and how if things went slightly differently, or there was a different sequence of events, it couldn't have been me, but I could have been in the same situation as him in terms of me being the caller, right? Not exactly the same details, because as I said, I'm not going into everything. But to some extent, it could have been me, you know? Yeah, that's what I had in mind for today. So I really appreciate you guys for watching the video. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what helped you, actually, because I need help in that specific case of shame and feeling better about my own difficulties right now. Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a good day and a good night. And sleep tight, guys. Bye.